Hey, welcome back to Touring History, the podcast where we prove that any random date contains enough constitutional upheaval to power a Supreme Court documentary. I'm Lane.
And I'm an upheaval myself. I'm Dave. And
I
this
thought you
is
were going to
our
say you're Supreme Dave.
well, I am that too, but I thought I'd go for the upheaval. And this is our third episode of Touring History X, Y, and Z, our shorter format designed to entertain and educate across the three largest generations for you.
Yeah, and I realized, I guess we left boomers out, but I think boomers are always part of the story. So if you're feeling left out as a boomer, too bad. You've been driving this community and society for a long time. All right. So, yeah, we're 3 days in, and this format is really clicking. We're focusing on the events that shaped how each generation sees the world rather than just listing everything that happened.
That's right. Think of it as historical pattern recognition with better snacks. And before we dive into a day that gave us everything from space exploration breakthroughs to reproductive rights controversies to social media justice movements, we need to talk about Ike's Love and Sandwiches.
Are we really segueing from constitutional law to sandwich architecture?
Well, they're interrelated. I mean, when you're about to discuss Sally Ride, the Dobbs decision, and the power of viral activism all in one episode, you need to be fed, and you need sustenance that understands complexity. Ike's Love and Sandwiches doesn't just make sandwiches, they engineer edible experiences.
Since 2007, they've been proving that creativity scales. Over 600 sandwich combinations, each one named after someone who matters, from the Tony Soprano to the Menage a Trois.
Yes, I like the Tim Conway, aka Mr. Tudball. Yes, check them out at ikesandwich.com because when history gets this consequential, you deserve food that's equally intentional.
And today's history is definitely consequential. June 24th, the day America sent its first woman into space, overturned constitutional precedent and showed how social media can drive real world change. 3 moments about breaking barriers, changing rules, and organizing resistance.
Yes, resist. But first, let's start with birthdays.
You can't resist birthdays, Dave. They come
No,
every
you
year.
can't, especially the cake, because June 24th is basically a creativity showcase. Lionel Messi turns 38 today, arguably the greatest soccer player ever, and proves that artistic genius can exist in any medium.
Plus, we've got Mindy Kaling at 46, who went from The Office writer to creating her own shows and proving that representation in comedy isn't just nice to have, it's essential.
Certainly is. Oh, and Mick Fleetwood's 78. Wow. The drummer who held Fleetwood Mac together through enough interpersonal drama to fuel several reality shows.
Carly Simon at 81, who gave us You're So Vain and made speculation about song subjects into a decades long cultural mystery.
Warren Beatty or not, we'll never know.
Who was so vain?
Yes, and Solange Knowles at 39, creating art that's both deeply personal and politically powerful, often in ways that complement and challenge her sister's work. And who
Plus
would
some
that sister be, Lane?
Plus some TikTok and YouTube. I don't know, Dave. Who is his sister? Am I supposed to know?
Beyonce.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, Queen Bee me. Plus, we have some TikTok and YouTube creators like Nick
Yeah.
Bensavengo. Bensavengo? I think I said it right.
Yep.
And Brooke Morton, proving that creative platforms keep evolving even when the talent pool stays consistently impressive.
You know what else is impressive? June 24th, 1983, Sally Ride returns to Earth after becoming the first American woman in space. That's right. A monkey went first, and then Sally Ride. And this is peak Gen X representation right here.
All right, here we go. Dave's connecting space exploration to generational identity again.
No, seriously. Sally Ride became the symbol of Gen X possibility. She was 32 years old, had a physics PhD, and literally broke the ultimate glass ceiling by leaving Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, and the media coverage was something. Do you weep when things go wrong on the job? Will the flight affect your reproductive organs? Questions that no male astronaut ever got asked.
That's right. They did ask her if she shaved, though. Right, but Gen X kids watching this saw something who just handled the sexism with competence and humor. She didn't waste energy fighting stupid questions. She answered them, and she did the job better than anyone expected. Go, Sally.
Yeah, that became the Gen X template for dealing with institutional barriers. Don't argue with the system, just outperform it so thoroughly that the barriers become irrelevant.
Worked for us, Lane. Sally Ride showed Gen X that you could break into exclusive spaces, not by demanding inclusion, but by being so obviously qualified that exclusion became absurd.
Yeah, and she did it with this matter of fact attitude that really resonated. No drama, no speeches about making history, just, yeah, I'm going to space. And yeah, I'm qualified.
That's right, light it up. What's fascinating is how this shaped Gen X women specifically. They grew up assuming that competence plus persistence could overcome almost any barrier, and they were right.
Although, let's be honest, Sally Ride dealt with way more scrutiny and pressure than her male colleagues. The first always carries extra weight.
It does. The first ones always have to be brutalized. True, but she handled it so well that she made it look effortless, which created unrealistic expectations for every Gen X woman who came after you. Why?
Yeah, just be Sally Ride
That's
became an
right. Why aren't you
impossible standard.
Sally?
Be more like Sally. You know what Sally did? She went to space. What did you do today?
Yeah. And she shaves up there, huh? What do you do?
Yeah, not everyone can be a literal rocket scientist with perfect media training.
That's right.
Moving on to 2002, the Supreme Court issues the Dobbs versus Jackson decision overturning Roe v. Wade. And this is the defining millennial political moment for this episode.
Wait a minute. How is this specifically millennial?
Well, because millennials grew up assuming reproductive rights were settled law. For their entire lives, from birth until their 30s and 40s, access to abortion was constitutionally protected. Then, suddenly, it wasn't.
Ah, I see. Well, that's a uniquely destabilizing experience. Having a fundamental right you've never questioned just disappear through judicial fiat.
Exactly. Older generations remembered when abortion was illegal. Younger generations grew up knowing rights could be precarious, but millennials experienced this as a complete betrayal of institutional trust.
What just happened? And it happened right as many millennials were making their own reproductive decisions. Having kids, delaying kids, dealing with fertility issues, wishing your kids weren't in the same room with you. The timing made it intensely personal.
Plus, this was the generation that believed in working within the system vote, volunteer, donate to campaigns, trust that democratic institutions would protect established rights.
That's right. Forever is not forever. Then they watched 6 Supreme Court justices appointed by presidents who lost the popular vote overturn 50 years of precedent that most Americans supported. Huh.
Yeah, the Dobbs decision basically told millennials that all their civic engagement and faith in institutions was naive. The system they'd been taught to respect was actively working against their values.
The Electoral College strikes again, Lane. What's remarkable is how quickly they pivoted to direct action. Abortion funds, mutual aid networks, legislative campaigns in individual states.
Because when you can't trust federal institutions to protect basic rights, you build your own support systems. Very millennial response to systemic failure.
Although the geographic disparities created by Dobbs are staggering, access to reproductive health care now depends entirely on which state you live in.
The state of confusion. That's where I am
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. Yeah.
State.
Which puts millennials in this impossible position. Stay in places where your rights are protected or move to help people in places where rights are under attack?
Where do I go? June 24th, 2018. Saudi Arabia lifts its ban on women driving. Oh, that only took them, 50 years? And this is absolutely peak Gen Z energy, incremental progress amplified by social media activism.
Okay. How is Saudi women getting driving rights a Gen Z story?
Because Gen Z was watching this happen in real time on social media. They saw Saudi women posting videos of themselves driving for the first time. Yes, and they did it secretly behind veils, sharing these incredibly emotional moments of basic freedom. Look at me, I'm driving on the wrong side of the highway, but I'm driving!
Wasn't this I mean, 2018, was that around the time that Borat came out? Because there was a scene where he's learning how to drive in America, and it's like talking about
Yes,
women not
and he's in the
driving in his
backseat of
country.
these Saudi cars.
Yeah. And it wasn't just passive observation. Gen Z was amplifying these stories, making them go viral, putting international pressure on governments that prefer to operate without scrutiny.
Right. The Saudi government made this change partly because global attention made the driving ban embarrassing. Ooh, nothing like embarrassing MBS. Young people with smartphones made it impossible to hide regressive policies.
What's fascinating is how Gen Z understands that individual rights and global connectivity are linked. A woman in Riyadh getting her license becomes everyone's victory.
And they're not satisfied with symbolic progress. Gen Z immediately started asking the male guardianship system about political prisoners, other women's rights issues, and whether they can get ice cream on Sundays.
Yeah, that's very Gen Z. Celebrate the victory, but don't let it distract from ongoing problems. They're suspicious of governments that offer limited reforms to avoid deeper changes.
Well, yes, that's very deep. Plus, they understand how authoritarian governments use social media for surveillance. Some Saudi women's rights activists were arrested even after the driving ban was lifted. Should have
Right.
worn a veil, baby.
Yeah, we're all living in a surveillance society now. So Gen Z learned to celebrate progress while staying aware of the risks that activists face for demanding basic rights.
It's this sophisticated understanding of how social media can be both a tool for liberation and a tool for oppression.
Although let's acknowledge the courage of the Saudi women who fought for this right. They faced real consequences for activism that Gen Z could only support from a distance.
Absolutely. Gen Z's role was amplification and solidarity, but the actual risk was taken by women who couldn't rely on international attention to protect them. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Speaking of supporting positive change, let's talk about Ike's Love and Sandwiches, a business that's been challenging expectations since 2007.
And challenge they do, Lane, while other places stick to predictable combinations. Ike's pushes boundaries. Over 600 different sandwiches, each one named after someone who made an impact. The Sally
Yes.
Ride.
Yeah, man, the Sally Ride, turkey, avocado, and Swiss, proving that excellence doesn't need to be complicated. The Ruth Bader Ginsburg, chicken with all the fixings, because some legends deserve maximum respect.
Founded with simple philosophy, great ingredients, creative combinations, and enough personality to make ordering lunch feel like making a statement. I'll have the Amelia Earhart. What? You can't find it?
Check them out at ikesandwich.com. Can't find it. One day, though, find that sandwich. It's one of those secret items off the menu.
That's right. I'll have the Howard Hughes. Easy on the fingernails.
Or it's like animal style, in and out, right? Like it's,
Right.
I'm gonna have the Sally Ride Amelia Earhart style.
Yeah. Half of it's missing.
Too soon? Check them out at ikesandwich.com, where every sandwich proves that innovation and tradition can work together perfectly.
That's right.
So there you have it, our third touring history X, Y, and Z episode. June 24th gave us three different approaches to breaking barriers. I'm still laughing. Individual excellence, institutional failure, and collective action.
Yes. And although the timeline is sobering, it took 40 years for the first American woman to reach space, 50 years for reproductive rights to be overturned, and decades for Saudi women to get basic mobility rights.
And all three lessons remain relevant. Sometimes you need individual pioneers, sometimes you need to build alternative systems, and sometimes you need international pressure campaigns.
That's right. Speaking of consistency, you can count on Ike's Love and Sandwiches has been proving that creativity and quality never go out of style. Check them out at ikesandwich.com.
We skipped a couple lines
Thanks
there.
for joining us. This X, Y, and Z format is really finding its rhythm, can't you tell? We love how each episode reveals different patterns and how generational experiences shape worldviews.
Until then, I'm Dave.
And I'm Lane, reminding you that history It's just making decisions about who gets to drive. No. Who gets to fly? Me, I'm a girl. And who gets to decide what's constitutional. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.